While most people are using Claude to write emails and summarize articles, a small group is using it to build leverage. Not a chatbot, not a tool, an operating system for their entire business. And the gap between these two groups is about to become one of the most significant financial divides of this decade. Here is why. In 2026, access to AI is no longer the advantage. Everyone has access. The free tier, the API, the consumer apps. 100 million users on ChatGPT alone. The real advantage, the one that compounds and cannot be replicated by simply opening the same app, is building what I call the sovereign intelligence layer. A system that knows your business, your clients, your frameworks, your decisions, your operating criteria. A system that gets smarter every week because you are feeding it institutional memory rather than starting from zero every conversation. This briefing is the protocol for building it. 3 systems, 1 framework, executable this weekend. The operator versus architect distinction. For decades, businesses scaled through labor. Need more output? Hire more people. Need more capacity? Add more contractors. Need more execution? Expand the team. But every additional human layer introduces friction, communication delays, management overhead, knowledge fragmentation, training costs, operational drift. The World Economic Forum estimates that 39% of core workplace skills will change by 2030. What worked 6 months ago may already be obsolete. The implication is precise. The future belongs to whoever learns fastest, adapts fastest, and builds systems fastest. This is the operator versus architect distinction. Operators perform tasks. Architects design systems that perform tasks. The operator uses Claude to answer questions. The architect uses Claude to build a layer of institutional intelligence that answers questions consistently, accurately, and in alignment with their specific business context without them in the room. That distinction compounds every week you build it. Here is how. Protocol 1, the knowledge core. Most people treat AI like a stranger. Every conversation starts from zero. Every prompt requires context. Every request requires explanation. The architect does the opposite. They teach the system once, then they leverage it indefinitely. Think about your business right now. You possess years of experience, customer insights, sales conversations, operational lessons, pricing frameworks, successful campaigns, failed experiments, decision-making principles that took years to develop. Most of this knowledge is scattered across documents, spreadsheets, notes, emails, and folders. Scattered knowledge is dead knowledge. The knowledge core consolidates all of it inside a Claude project, a persistent context layer that transforms every subsequent conversation. Instead of repeatedly explaining how your business works, the system already knows. Every recommendation becomes more relevant. Every analysis becomes more aligned. Every strategy becomes more precise. This is not automation. This is institutional leverage. First move, open a Claude project today. Upload 1 document, a sales process, a client onboarding guide, a standard operating procedure, anything that captures how your business actually operates. That document is the foundation of your sovereign intelligence layer. Everything else builds on top of it. Protocol 2, the decision engine. Knowledge alone is not enough. The real bottleneck in most businesses is not information. It is decision velocity. Every day requires judgment. Which opportunity deserves attention? Which project deserves investment? Which customer segment should be prioritized? Which process should be improved first? Most founders suffer from decision fatigue, not because they lack information, but because they apply inconsistent frameworks to each decision and start from scratch every time. The decision engine solves this permanently. Instead of asking Claude for generic advice, The architect asks Claude to evaluate every opportunity through their own documented operating criteria, their specific risk tolerance, their specific growth targets, their specific client profile, their specific resource constraints. Now the system is not generating generic answers. It is applying your strategic framework consistently to every decision without the cognitive overhead of reconstructing that framework from memory each time. The result is decision velocity. Less time sorting noise, more time acting on signal, more clarity, more focus, more execution per hour of cognitive effort. First move, document your 3 most important decision criteria for your business. The filters you apply consciously or unconsciously to every major choice. Feed them into your Claude project. Then test the engine on the last 3 decisions you made. See whether the system would have reached the same conclusion faster and with less friction. That test will show you exactly how much cognitive overhead the decision engine eliminates. Protocol 3, the execution network. Because insight without action has no economic value, this is where most people stop. They gather information, they build frameworks. They never connect intelligence to execution. The architect closes that loop. Every area where operational friction accumulates daily, reporting, documentation, research, client communication, workflow coordination, and process management, becomes a node in the execution network. Intelligence flows into these nodes. Outputs flow out of them. The architect sits above the network, directing, refining, and making the judgment calls that require genuine human context. The systems handle repetition, the architect handles direction. And here is the compound effect that most people miss entirely. Every hour spent building a node in the execution network creates future hours that no longer require manual effort. The system that handles your weekly reporting today frees 2 hours next week and every week after. The system that handles your client onboarding this month frees 4 hours next month and every month after. This is not efficiency. This is leverage. And leverage, unlike labor, does not experience burnout, take sick days, or require a performance review. First move, identify the single most repetitive task in your business right now. The one that consumes the most time for the least strategic return. Map every step of that task manually. Then build one Claude-powered workflow that handles it autonomously. That is your first execution network node. Build it once, run it forever. The verdict. The Sovereign Intelligence Protocol is not a productivity framework. It is an architectural decision about what kind of business you are building. One that scales through labor, adding humans to add capacity, with all the friction and fragility that entails. Or one that scales through intelligence, compounding institutional knowledge, decision velocity, and execution efficiency every week without adding headcount. The knowledge core, the decision engine, the execution network. 3 protocols, 1 sovereign operating system. Here is your challenge. Open a Claude project today. Upload 1 document that explains how your business operates. Then ask this single question. Identify 3 recurring operational bottlenecks and propose systems that could reduce them within the next 7 days. 1 document, 1 question, 1 action. Because the future will not belong to people who merely use AI. It will belong to the architects who build intelligence into how they operate. The architect economy has already begun. The only question is whether you build your systems before your competitors build theirs. Drop a comment below. Tell me which protocol you are building first. Knowledge, decision, execution. 1 word. That is the beginning of your sovereign intelligence layer. Subscribe for weekly intelligence on building the operating systems that compound sovereign income in the new economy. Share this with one founder who is still treating AI like a search engine. They are leaving the most powerful leverage tool of this decade on the table. Subscribe. Build your layer. Transmission concluded.